All right, it just kind of squeezes right out. Can you see that? And it just squeezes out beautifully. You can use that as a spread too, just as it is. But we've done a few ahead of time for you, so let me put these in here because this is the base of our sauce. 3 or 4 of these cloves of garlic and 3 or 4 of these roasted shallots in this little tiny mini blender. Isn't that cute? And we're going to add to that a little bit of pepper, not a lot, and some lemon juice. About a teaspoon of lemon juice for 4 shallots and 4 garlic cloves. And here comes 2 tablespoons of our walnuts. And this is the base of our sauce. A tiny bit of oil so that it goes on very, very smoothly. That is about 2 teaspoons of oil. And this is 1/4 of a cup of water. You could also use, if you wanted to, some chicken stock, defatted and low sodium. All right, let's grind this up. And that is perfect. That's all you do. And that roasted garlic and the roasted shallots give it the most wonderful fragrance. It is just ideal. What a wonderful sauce. And a good dip, too, for breadsticks and things. Our asparagus is all finished. Let's turn this off. Now, if we wanted to blanch this, we could. By blanching it, I'll just take a... I think I'm going to do this and drop them all. Nope, I didn't. Okay, we just put them in some real cold water right away to stop the cooking. And they won't continue to cook as much, but they're still nice and warm. So, but they're not going to cook as much. Now that's if you wanted them cold. You can have this cold with a little bit of balsamic vinegar, or you can have them hot. But I wanted to show you how to blanch them to stop the cooking. All right, those are nice and warm, and we're going to put our sauce on that and decorate our plate. Let's put this down. And this is what it looks like. And it is the most delicious sauce. We'll garnish that just a tiny little bit with a little bit of red pieces, or you could put some parsley on there if you wanted. Isn't that nice? Let me take this off because we want a little bit more liquid in here because we want to fill it all the way up. But in order to show you what goes in here, this is a pound of, these are little tiny white beans. Now if you use these kinds of beans, which are kidney beans, these would take about 3 times as long. And we're doing this from scratch. So this is a pound of white beans or navy beans, and we will have about 2 or 3 quarts of this stock, and you can add more. This is about 2 stalks of celery. It makes about a cup, and this is 1/2 of a red pepper. You just cook it all at once. You don't have to attend this. Just put it all in, put the lid on it, go out, do what you're going to do, go antiquing. This is 2 huge onions. Do you love these big onions? I love them. I don't like to peel those little beany onions. Even the vidalias are getting bigger. All right, this is some more red pepper. Oh, I'm going to say this because I want to use that for the garnish. All right, this is a little bit of cilantro. This is 1/2 teaspoon. Gives it, it's dried cilantro. Gives it a little bit of a nice feel to it. And this is the spice that we just made, the Creole spice, and that's about 1 teaspoon of it. And here's parsley, and this is almost 3/4 of a cup, 1/2 cup to 3/4 of a cup, and you want to cook it in that. Now, garlic, about 3 cloves. And this is how it looks when you start putting it together. And you want to take, when you take that ham hock off, out of the soup, you take all the fat off, and then you put the meat back in without the fat. Let's serve up our serving so I can show you what this looks like. And I've got in front of me all these nice defatting cups, all different sizes. I like the glass best because the glass isn't going to crack when you put the hot liquid into it. So this is defatted soup. Let me get our dish over here. Oh, you know, one more thing I'm going to put in this. This is the secret ingredient. This is Pernod, and this is 1/2 cup of Pernod. Now this soup actually had it in it already, but I wanted to show you what it looked like, and it smells so good. It's kind of licorice looking. Okay, let's serve this. And on top, just to keep that real southern feel to it, I'm going to put on a crawfish right across the top. Now, let's make our brownies because they are wonderful. You will not believe how good they are. I can't wait to show you. All right, first thing we're going to do, these are substitute eggs. Again, remember, I know I told you this, but they're 99% egg product. And so substitute eggs, not the yolks, because we want to get rid of the yolks. The reason we're cooking this way is so we don't have the cholesterol in the yolks. Now, these are 2 egg whites. So we have a 1/2 cup of the substitute eggs plus 2 egg whites. And I'm going to put this on, and I want these to be kind of frothy. Let's see, I think we've got a little arrow here that will line this up perfectly. There we go. We'll just let that go for just a minute, a little bit higher. That's perfect. All right. Now, also to this, I'm going to add sugar. This is a cup and 1/4 of sugar. And they're also 2 tablespoons. Let me change that. If you want them not quite as sweet, a cup and 1/4. If you want them quite sweet, a cup and 1/2. How's that? All right, our flour is 1 cup of flour. This is just regular all-purpose flour. That's not going to mix in there if I get it on top, is it? And the cocoa is a 1/2 cup of cocoa plus 2 tablespoons. Again, it's our unsweetened cocoa. Vanilla, whatever you like, up to 2 tablespoons. This is about 1.5 tablespoons. And this is the secret ingredient, 1/4 cup of bran flakes. These are oat bran flakes. Okay, and we'll mix those up right now. Let's see where our arrows are. Line that up. There we go. Just takes a moment to do. All right, let's go off. Now, let's stick in our banana. All right, now we've got all that mixed up. And our banana. All right, now I'm going to get my couple of other ingredients that I'm going to put in here. These are chocolate morsels, and this is a 1/2 cup and a 1/2 cup of, these are called sapphire size chopped walnuts. Okay, perfect. Looks beautiful. All right, now we want to do these by hand. Our 1/2 cup of this, chocolate morsels, and our 1/2 cup of nuts, and there's our spatula. We'll mix those up rather quickly and just slightly. Can you see it? They mix up so easily. You see how rich and dark and chocolatey this is? It's so wonderful. Now, how are we going to get the olive oil on here without having an enormous amount? Very simple. Couple of ways to do that. Here's one way. You can spray it with olive oil spray. That's one way. Now, let's say you're very particular about your brand of olive oil. There's another way to do it. Put your olive oil, the kind that you really like, in a sprayer like this, and you can spray it again with your own brand of olive oil. I'm going to put this in our beautiful salad bowl because I'm going to toss it in that bowl. And I'm going to spray a little bit of a very special brand. By the way, some of the really good brands of olive oil are making their own sprays now, so you can get your favorite in a spray. But you could just spray a little bit on here. Then every bite has some, but you're not getting tablespoon after tablespoon, because remember, olive oil, yes, it has some good qualities to it, but it is very high in saturated fat, about 3 times higher than canola. Look at this oil. This is a mixture of olive oil and canola, and this is a spray again, and this is the pure olive oil. Isn't that a cute little can that you could use if you wanted to? All right, let's make our dressing. Really simple to make. Move this out of the way. 3 or 4 tablespoons of pure lemon juice, 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire and anchovy paste. Looks like that. If you squirted it out of the tube, it would look about like that. And we'll use about 1 teaspoon of that, and we will mix that up, and a lot of good garlic. All right, let's put this garlic right in this nice garlic press, because we want to really mince so nobody is getting too much garlic, you know, great big piles of garlic in their mouth. You don't want to be chewing on it. And I would use maybe 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. Let's pop that guy out and put another one in. There we go. Now, if you want to stretch this out a little bit, the way to do it, you don't have to. I eat it just like this, but because I like it really, really tart. But if you want to stretch it out a little bit, you can use a fat-free egg product that is 99% egg. There we go. And that's pasteurized. You never want to use a raw or coddled egg in this. So that's our dressing. We're going to put it on right now. And it smells so good. And we're going to put on top of that a couple of tablespoons of our fat-free Parmesan cheese and some good black pepper. This is a cup of non non-fat cottage cheese, a couple of tablespoons of non-fat cream cheese, 3 tablespoons of lemon. If you're a lemon lover like I am, you could use more. This is about a teaspoon, maybe a half a teaspoon of a really good hot sauce, a little bit of Dijon mustard, a little bit to me is a half a teaspoon. You can always go a little bit more on the mustard and on the some of the other things. Now this, I use Armagnac, but this is a really good white wine. Armagnac is also a wine. This is all it is. It is so simple. Let's see if we can line up these arrows, turn this on. Now, the trick to it is to let it mix like this for about 4 minutes. I'm not going to do that because we don't have that time, but if you let it mix for 4 minutes, all of the little nubblies come out of it. Now, it doesn't make any difference if the clams say baby clams, because all the clams are already chopped into pieces, but you'll find some that say baby clams. Could you hear me over that motor? Now, this is not quite as smooth as I like it, but you will get the idea. And it is simple, it is good, it works beautifully. We'll put our clams in there in just a moment. I'm going to put this in our serving dish right now because we have a few more things we're going to put in there. Not much. You know what would work better? A little bigger spoon here. There we go. Or a nice spatula. All right, but that's what it looks like. But it will be velvety smooth if you let it be just a little longer. And you can, if this is a little bit too thin for you, you can also add a little bit more of the non-fat cream cheese. All right, here's our clams. We've drained them well. This is 2 6-ounce cans of clams. How do you like that? A can of clams. All right, let me mix that up. This is all it is. It is so good. I sit there and eat this by myself with pieces of toast and things because it is so wonderful. Your company will love it. It is lush and rich and, as I say, full of these wonderful clams, this little bit of wine. That's the reason you don't throw away your wine at night. You have a little bit left that you can save for the next morning. We'll put some parsley in there, and we'll put some, this is some nice little scallions on top. We'll put our crostini. This is what it looks like. See, beautiful little pieces of bread. This clam dip is a great starter for any meal. Now, if you really had to have a lot of meat, the way I have made it is I put another layer of ham here, but you don't need it. So we'll put the next layer only on top and not on that second layer. And then we're not eating quite as much meat. And did you see how thin I have that ham sliced? One thing about meat, you can look at it and you can tell if it has the fat or not. So look at it, and if it's too fatty, get another kind. Often the canned hams are very fatty, so you want a meat that you can see. All right, I'm going kind of light on this brown sugar, which I think is great. Okay, there we go, and let's put our ham on top. All right, well, I'm going to just put this one piece on top like this, and then each one of these other pieces, I'm going to put on a piece of ham also. So it'll cook with the piece of ham right on top. Now, you know what I want to do here? Let's find that spoon again, and let's spoon some on here. Remember, you're going to let this soak for about 15 minutes. Make sure we've got enough. This last piece needs some. Oh, you know what I want to do here? Let's take these guys and put some more berries on them and some more brown sugar. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now let's put our ham on here. And we're going to bake this now at 350 degrees. No, but let's get your oven to 475. That's what we want to bake it at. I made a mistake on that. 475, a very hot oven, and make sure you don't burn it, because one of the things you'll want to do is put a piece of foil just kind of resting on top, and just to make sure that you don't, because these little edges can burn. And we'll bake that for about 25 minutes. Now, I want to get one out of the oven that I just heard go off, because it's all ready for you, so you can see what it looks like when it's all done. Now, on the one that I just made, I put 2 layers of ham. You can put no ham if you don't want it, and you can put no ham on top if you don't want it. Now for the heat. 2 different kinds of peppers, jalapeno and a Scotch bonnet. This is the hottest pepper known to the world, this little Scotch bonnet right here. And if you even touch this and rub your face or your eyes, you will know it. This little Scotch bonnet. Let me show you what it looks like on the inside. Not a lot of seeds in there, but I'll show you what the jalapeno, and you can get a ripe jalapeno or a green one. This is a green one. It's not quite ripe yet, and when they're ripe, they're bright red, and this is what it looks like on the inside. The spine area down the center and all the seeds are what are really, really hot. All right, let's put our avocado in here, and this is 1 avocado to this. If you like it, you could use 2. This is 1 avocado that's chopped up, because I like it kind of chunky. Now this is 1 avocado that is completely emulsified. So you have kind of some different textures. So let's mix this up. And this is what it looks like. Again, if you want some extra fat in it, the fat you can use is the non-fat sour cream. I don't know why we started adding sour cream to all of these wonderful basic dishes. Then, by the way, if you want to make something like a tortilla, this is a flour one, you can take this and spray it and then bake it. And you can make your own tortilla chips. What did I do with those scissors? I'm always hiding things. But someplace, right here in front of me. Okay, and then you can cut it like so and bake this right in the oven for about 10 minutes at 350, and you have some nice chips. So that works really, really well. Now, when this is all made, and I've got where is this? Right over here in front of me. And the batter's all done. This is what it looks like when you continue to work this batter. And I did this up a little bit earlier. So you want to take a little bit of this, and let's take this off, because there's a trick to doing this, and I want to show you how to do it. All right, we have sprayed the back of this spoon just ever so lightly with this butter-flavored spray, and then we kind of mash it. See how that works? Doesn't that work beautifully? All right, let's take a little bit more here, and we'll make a few of these. Did I tell you how long these bake? These bake in a 350 oven for 10 or 12 minutes, and they're kind of chewy and crispy at the same time, but you really do need this spoon like this, and these can be about 1 inch apart. All right, I do want to show you something that's kind of interesting over here. I want to show you something else you can get. Have you seen these non-fat cookies that you can buy? Let's say, okay, I don't want to make these. It's too hard, because this is such a good dessert. Here's what they look like when they're all made. Let me show you the consistency of that so you can see that. Can you see how nice that is? It's kind of chewy and nice. But this is not to be eaten alone. This is for filling with one of our ice creams. And let me show you how to do this. All right, now this is an ice cream starting to melt, and we'll do it this way. And then we're going to put this on top. See, like so? And see how nice that is? And you know what you can do with these, which is really, really nice? You can freeze these. And the way to freeze them, put one like this. Let's take another one here, because they're easy to freeze. Whoops, I broke that guy. And the ones we buy from the store, we can freeze too. So the kids can have them anytime they want. And guess who the kid is in my family? It's me. So I can eat them. See, and then you can just kind of roll that up. And we could have put a few more in there. Just roll that up. And then they all come out nicely when they're frozen. Now, these are the closed face sandwiches, and these are for freezing. Now, for open face, and those are the ones you want to eat right away, you don't want to freeze these, you put your topping on right here, and then you just eat it like so. These don't work so well frozen. All right, now, our topping is a 1/2 cup of non-fat cottage cheese. Now, the secret to this is when you are mixing it, and I've spilled a tiny little bit there, you're going to also use, and I'll show you the secret in just a minute. This is a 1/4 cup of evaporated skim milk. It has a slightly caramely flavor, a little bit different than regular non-fat milk. If you don't like that caramely flavor of the canned milk, then just use the non-fat. This is white pepper. You could use this. It has a different flavor again than dark pepper does. And of course, this is a little tiny bit of salt here. Now, the trick to this, let's get this little bit of cottage cheese off the lid. The trick to this is letting this mix about 4 minutes. So you get all of the little grains out. Let me show you what it looks like when it's all done. Now, this was made with just skimmed milk. And you can see it's just velvety, velvety smooth. And it has no little grains, but it takes about 4 minutes to do that. All right, I've got some potatoes that are finished here. These are without the garlic. And let me show you different ways of mashing them. All right, here is one way, and then we'll put this topping right in it. Have you seen potato mashers, the old-fashioned kind? There are so many of them, and they are so cute. I have a couple of them at home that they must be 100 years old, and I love them. This is one right here. And you can mash potatoes this way. They mash up perfectly well. You can also mash this potato with what's called a ricer, and this works perfectly well. Let me show you how we're going to do this. That's a hot potato. Now you know where that expression came from. And you push it through like so, and that's called a ricer, and that works really well. Here's another type of masher. There's all different kinds. Now, this is probably something you haven't done. You can also use one of these immersion blenders or hand blenders, and the trick to this is you can't do this with it. Where's our topping? Let's put it on there, and I'm going to show you. Because if you smush it around, what happens? See, now that is not quite ground up enough. I should have used my other one. This one I should have used. But it has no fat, and it'll taste just as good. The trick to this is you have to go up and down. If you smush it around, it becomes gluey, like gluey. So if you do it this way, you can do it. But if you've had bad luck with some of these, it's because you're doing this, and that doesn't work. You have to go right on top of it, and then it will work with one of these. That's the quick and easy way of doing it. So let's do just what we did before. We're going to add 2 egg whites, not the yolks. We don't need the yolks. If you have to have yolks, get something, like an egg substitute, but you don't need them, which is 99% egg anyway. We're going to add some celery. This is a pound of ground round I have, and that's about a cup of celery, and this is about a cup of onions. And you add what you like to this. Now, the only thing we're doing a little bit differently in this particular ground round dish is we are adding a little bit of vinegar. That seems to give it a kind of a nice little tart taste. Now, but you hardly taste it. You know how much that was? That was half a teaspoon. And this is a couple tablespoons again of breadcrumbs. And you can make your own breadcrumbs. Can I show you a trick on making your own breadcrumbs? Let me show you this. Take your piece of bread in a bag just like this, and take your, have you seen these? These are hand blenders. Sometimes they're called immersion blenders. You put it right in the bag and put it right down here. And I'm just going to show you just for a second, but can you see how this is starting to make breadcrumbs? Can you see that already? Just wanted to show you that, and then you can add your oregano and stuff to that. So you can make breadcrumbs really, really simply. Now, I've already got this mixed up, and I want to show you what I'm going to do with it. There are different kinds of pans to use. You can use a pan like this, which is my favorite, which is nonstick and it's got holes in it. You can do it really, really fancy in one of these beautiful dishes over here. This is really a pate pan, and it's beautiful. You can make your meatloaf in that and bring it right to the table. Let me show you another thing you can do with this. We're going to still use this little pan, just like this. You don't have to have fatty meatloaf. Now, I'm going to make some layers in this. I've made some big ones for you to show you a little bit later. I'm going to take some of this out right now, and we could put egg whites. These are hard-cooked egg whites in here for a really nice, pretty layer if we wanted to. That's one layer we could do. Now, let's say nobody likes egg whites, too gelatinous. They want something else. We could put a layer of carrots if we wanted to. You could put a layer of onions, and then when you slice it open, you can imagine how pretty that is. All right, let's put this layer of carrots in this one, and I'm going to put some spinach. If we do mushrooms, which are way up here in front, if you do these mushrooms, make sure that you cook them first because they get really, really watery. All right, this is about a half a cup of ketchup on top. And let's say, okay, I could have done this with a spoon, couldn't I? That I really want to have this kind of spicy and kind of hot. There are a lot of other things I can put on this too. How about some Creole seasoning? I'm going to put that in the oven, in a 360-degree oven for about an hour for a dish that's traditionally very high in fat. You and your family can enjoy my meatloaf guilt-free. And I'm going to press these in. We could take these that I just made or some others I have here, and we'll press those in like about that, a little more than I want, or like that. And just on a bare pan, we're going to sear this steak. You don't want to get it too burned. You don't want it to have a burned flavor. Pepper, like garlic, tastes terrible if it's burned. Let's put a little bit more, and you see how much I'm putting on? Not a terribly lot. I'm just going to sear it just a little bit. There we go. And that's a nice piece of meat. You really don't need any more than that. Now for our sauce. Our sauce is very special. We're going to put a little bit of brandy in here. This is about 3 tablespoons of a very good brandy. Worcestershire, that's about 1 teaspoon. Here's the butter. 1 teaspoon of butter. You could go as high as a tablespoon, but you really don't need very much. Just a little bit to flavor it. And to thin this out, we're putting in 3 tablespoons of canola. And that kind of gives that nice deglazed feel to the pan. Now, we could have seared this without our meat in there and made this sauce separately, or we can do it just like this. Or we can tip it and get our sauce going just like so as our meat is cooking up on the other end. And can you see how beautiful this is? And look at how nicely that sauce kind of thickens up with the flavor of the pepper and the brandy and the meat. All right, that's our steak au poivre. It is gorgeous, and that is the best sauce. I'm going to serve it for you now. This is very rare. We haven't had a chance to really cook this really well, but it is lovely. And you could do this for a wonderful romantic dinner or for a party when you have some friends over. I think I can pour this. This is a nice heavy pan. You don't need weights with these pans, which I kind of like actually. Let me get some of that pepper. All right, we'll put a little bit of this sauce on. If you cook this a little longer, it will thicken up even more. And that is so good. You can indulge in my steak au poivre because almost all the possible fat has been removed. It's a special dinner for friends, so enjoy. Let me show you what it looks like when it's all finished. Remember, you bake it 325 oven for an hour, and then you let it cool in the oven for an hour, or an hour and 50 minutes, something like that. This is what it looks like when it comes out. It often will crack. The little one did not crack, but often they will crack. But it's okay, because the way we decorated it won't make any difference. Now, this was a great big one I made, and I made this one at home this weekend. Now, I leave it on the bottom. It's just so much easier. I don't try to take it off the bottom, and that's what's so wonderful about these springforms. You just leave it right on the bottom. You can tuck some leaves in there. You can put some nice strawberries. Now, when we're going to put a topping on it, this is one topping we can put on. It'll fill in these cracks. Can you see? You can put a really pretty topping. This is just raspberry jam, but you could make your own with some fresh raspberries. And you know how to do that, don't you? Now, one of the things I do want to tell you when you bake this, one more hint as I'm decorating this, when you bake it, it has to be baked in what's called a water bath. And that means, and I'll show you how to do it, but I want you to see how pretty this is going to be. So I just want to start decorating this. See, I like the decorating part, but I do want to show you the water bath because it is important or it will not work. All right, let me show you how we do this. All right, see what we've got right here? I haven't finished putting my pecans on it, but you take boiling water. See how hot that is. That guy's pretty hot, but I've got to. All right, first fill your water bath with the boiling water. All right, then here's the extra trick. We're going to take this. Let's move these guys out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Wrap him in this heavy-duty foil is what you want. And just pull it up like so, right around the sides, so it doesn't have any leaks. And if you do this at the last minute, you can be sure you won't have the leaks. Okay, and you put this right in the water bath, and that's the way you're going to cook it. Let me show you how to do it with the pears first, and then I'll show you how to do it with some other fruits, okay? First, let's take our pears. You can use any kind of pear you want. These are several different kinds we have here. Now, you can cut them in half like this, or you could cut them in slices, whichever way you would like. Let's put some pear brandy. Have you seen these? This pear brandy, it has a pear in it. I think it is the cutest thing. This one is rather expensive. If you buy it without the pear, it's not quite as expensive, but pear brandy is wonderful. It's one of my favorites. Now we're going to put some in here, a little bit more, and just a little bit more. That's about 3/4 of a cup. And then we're going to put our pears in here. We're going to sprinkle in some sugar and a little bit of almond flavor. That's about 1/4 teaspoon of our almond extract, and we'll mix that all up. And our sugar, we'll just sprinkle it around. That all melts in beautifully. This is about 1 cup. I like a little bit less, even though my recipe says 1 cup. Let's just use a 1/2 cup in there. And we're going to do it with our almonds. These almonds are slivered. and they're already cut. The skin is off of them already. So we'll put it just like that. You can see that sugar has melted already. Let me just kind of get that around just a little bit like so. And we're going to put a lid on this. So it cooks up on low for about, you can cook it for 20 minutes, you can cook it for 40 minutes. The truth is it does not make a lot of difference because it cooks up beautifully. We're going to serve it with some nice little berries here. Let me just squish this around a little bit more, pour some more of this sauce on the top, put one on our serving dish. And if you wanted to now, you could put in a few blueberries or raspberries in here for a little bit of color. You see when this is served that it's a little bit plain looking, and we'll put some of this nice syrup on top. But don't let the blueberries stay in the pan for too long, because what happens is that they color this wonderful syrup that we have here. So let's decorate this. Put a little flour on it, a few little berries. And if you wanted to also, you could use dried cranberries. You could use some dried tart cherries. Almond pears with pear brandy is a succulent dessert that is sure to please the palate. It's simple, yet it's sophisticated, and it is very low in fat. This is the piece that's on the rib chop, and these particular pockets are cut this way. So you have a pocket that's hollow all in the center but doesn't go through. But you can also do it this way. You don't have to be fancy about it, and you can just cut it right through and almost butterfly it like that. And it makes just as good. It's not quite a pocket, but then it looks a little different when it's served, and the stuffing all kind of comes out, and it is so good. This is really so good. Now this one, you stuff the hole inside because this has been cut all the way through here, all the way through here. But that's kind of hard for most of us to do. But as I said before, when you walk in the store, you can have your meat cutter do that for you. All right, so that's two ways to do it, real easy. But this is a true pocket that's cut all the way through to the edges and the inside. Remember, you don't cut through this side because you have to have something to stuff. All right? So here's one way to do it, and I'm dividing this in 4, and this is when it's all cooked. And let's bring our jalapeno jelly over here so I can brush the top of these chops with that. Now this is very, very hot. The other thing you can do, which I have done many times, is I put a couple of tablespoons of this jalapeno jelly right into this pork mixture. But anyway, we want to cover this whole thing with a little of this nice hot jelly, even a little bit of the stuffing. See, and then we'll put that in here. And let me spray this first to make sure these don't stick. There we go. And that's just a plain olive oil spray, just like so. All right, this is going to cook. You can do it under your broiler for about 4 to 5 minutes on each side. Make sure you take that internal temperature because you don't know how far away. I don't know how, what your broiler is like and how far away it's going to be from the heat, how far away your broiler pan. And you can do it in this too in Pyrex. You can also do it on a grill. But these chops have so little fat that you don't have to have it on a grill where the extra fat will drain off. You can see how dense and wonderful this meat is. Let's put a little bit more on the front here. That is perfect, perfectly beautiful, and those will be delicious. And let me show you what it looks like. Now, since I've been handling raw meat, I'm going to do this very carefully. And this is what it looks like when it's all finished. Isn't that gorgeous? And if you made a little bit of extra of this stuffing, you could put some of this cooked stuffing right around the edge here. These fruity stuffed pork chops are perfect for one person. You can make it just for you or for a whole party. And scallops are an interesting seafood because some unscrupulous fishmongers may buy an inexpensive slab of shark meat or skate, and they may take like a cookie cutter, it's a machine, and you have scallops. So you make sure you know who your fishmonger is so that you're not getting skate or if you're expecting scallops. Skate isn't bad and neither is shark, but if you're expecting scallops, you want scallops. And these, of course, are sea scallops. The little bay scallops are little tiny guys, about 1/10 of the size of some of these big ones. Let's stir this one more time, make sure that this is working well. and it is. You can also buy some grits that are already pre-cooked, which takes a lot less time. All right, we're just going to brush this on. I don't want to put too much on, but some. If you want a lot on, again, you'd put it in the bag the way I did it before. Okay. And you can cook these under the broiler for only about 5 to 7 minutes at the most, because they get done very, very quickly. All right, this is what they look like. And you can see they're done very, very quickly. Now, you could put them in a broiler right on top of your, a grill if you wanted to. These little tiny guys, this is the size of a bay scallop, by the way. It's just that big. That just happens to be a piece of one. But let's show you what they look like when they're all finished. Now, where's my big spoon? Here we go. Let's turn some of these off so it's not bubbling too high. Okay, we put our grits. That spoon isn't going to do it. It's not quite big enough. I'm going to go over and get a great big one, because those grits are a little bit on the watery side still. I like them a little bit firmer than this, but either way, I love grits. There, that's what we want. Put this one here. Put some of our scallops right on top. Okay, and we're going to put a tiny bit of lime on this, just on our scallops, and it tastes fine on the grits. And it is so beautiful. And this unusual scallop dish is easy, it's inviting. I've got it with some nice southern greens here. You can see how simple it was, and if you really want to, you can put a little bit of a Tabasco on it or something like that. A hot sauce makes it wonderful. All right, let's make this. First thing we do is we want to have our salmon marinated. This has already been marinated, but let me show you how you do it. And I'm going to start cooking this so you can see what it looks like as it cooks. And this is about 8 ounces and this will make about 12 of them. But here's how you make your marinade. This is 2 cloves of garlic chopped, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is 1 teaspoon of dark sesame oil. They do taste different. And this is 2 tablespoons of light soy, which means it's low sodium, just like this. It almost does it like a ceviche, because the lemon or lime juice will, and you can use lime juice too, will cook it a little bit. You put this in the refrigerator for a couple of hours, gives it some flavor. And you can see it's starting to cook up quite nicely here. But I'm going to go right ahead to one that's already been cooked. Let's turn this guy over. There we go. And then we would just keep cooking this until it's done. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes per side. You know what the rule is. This is a little over 1 inch high, about 7 minutes per inch. All right, now, when they're all finished and you have baked them and you're ready to assemble them, this is so simple, because all you need to do is take them like so, and this is where the fun comes in. Put them out. And I'm just doing a few of these for you. Now, you may have been bombarded by all of the stuff that came up the Center for Science and the Public Interest. It was really good. They said Chinese food is loaded with unnecessary fat, but you can have it without the fat if you know how to order. Now, keep in mind that any dish you order out that's fried is going to have a lot of fat in it. So try to order things that aren't fried. See how salmon comes apart in little tiny pieces like this where the natural muscle is? You can take it apart that way, and that makes a very pretty piece to put on top. And here are several other pieces I've done that with, but it just kind of falls apart, and it falls apart within the muscle striae. So it makes it kind of nice. All right, first thing we're going to do, a little bit of, again, our hoisin sauce, just a little tiny, tiny bit of it. We're spreading on each one of these. All right, and on top of the hoisin, I hope they make a low sodium hoisin. They don't yet. And it's fairly high in sodium. I bet they will soon, though, because we love to have Asian cooking. All right, this is a piece of salmon. And here's a place to use your radishes. I love radishes. These are nice and crunchy, crispy, and this is so good. And then on top, we can put a little tiny bit of scallions that have been chopped. And see how pretty that is? And that's a wonderful mouthful.